Namaste. My name is Kirti, and on behalf of Himalayan Yoga Association, I welcome you all to this online teacher training course. I am a teacher here at Himalayan Yoga Association, and I will be taking you through the concepts and details of the human body and yoga altogether. Let's hope you enjoy this course. Let's start.
Namaste and welcome back to the online yoga teacher training course. In today's video, we are going to figure out the structure and anatomy of the elbow joint. But before we do that, I need you to come and sit with me as we chant the Gayatri Mantra. Simply sit in any meditative posture. Adopt the Chin Mudra with your palms facing the ceiling, spine extended, shoulders rolled to the back. Close your eyes and allow your breath to explore what your insides are made up of. Just slowly inhale and exhale and observe how the breath relaxes you down the more attention you pay to it. This is something that can only be felt and can only be felt individually. Nobody can make you understand what the feeling of relaxation with the help of your breath is. You need to really immerse yourself in this activity to observe the effect. Simply breathe in and slowly exhale and observe how the body relaxes from within every time you let the breath flow out. If you have troubles paying attention, or if you are having problems associated with anxiety, hypertension, then simple breathing can do wonders for your mind and your attention span. Just try it on yourself. Relax yourself. There is no rush. Just observe your breath. And after a few breaths, slowly bring your hands back to your heart center in Namaskara Sthiti. Keep your eyes closed. We're going to chant the Gayatri Mantra. If you know the mantra, you can chant it with me. Otherwise, you can always repeat it afterwards. Please slowly take a deep inhalation. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. Having absorbed the vibration and the effect of the mantra, let's create some energy between our hands by rubbing our palms. Gently rub your palms. And after you feel some heat between your palms, transfer this energy to your eyes. Cover your eyes with your palms. Now massage your face. Please keep your eyes closed. Massage your face, the back of your neck, your shoulders, knees, wherever you wish to transfer this energy to. Before opening your eyes, once again, fold your palms, bow down to your fingertips and to the universal truth. With a few blinks, gently open your eyes. Welcome back. So, the elbow joint is another major joint inside the human body. The elbow joint is very purposeful. It plays a mighty role whenever it comes to interacting with the outside world, just how our fingers are making our life easier. The elbow has its own offerings to the interactive universe that human beings are capable of. The elbow joint is basically a hinge joint. Simply said, the elbow joint is a hinge joint because it's only capable of extending and flexing. It's only capable of straightening and bending. But inside the elbow joint, it is also a pivot joint, because of which the hand is able to supinate, pronate, or the palm or the forearm is able to rotate upwards or downwards, partially, not completely. Complete rotation is impossible in any part of the human body. Same goes for the elbow joint. The elbow joint even though it is more or less, a hinge joint, it has its own anatomy and structure going on itself. As a part of the skeletal system, let's see what the elbow joint is made up of. If you pay attention to this diagram, you'll see that the elbow joint is made up of 3 bones. The first one is the humerus bone, also the second largest and the second strongest bone inside the human body. It starts from the shoulder joint and finishes at the elbow joint. Also, this is the biggest joint, biggest bone of the entire joint. The second bone is the ulnar bone, which is the second largest bone of the entire elbow joint. I'm not saying it's the second largest bone of the body, it is the second largest bone of the entire elbow joint. The third and the last bone associated and which forms the elbow joint is the radius bone, also the smallest and the shortest part. But at the same time, the radius bone is more functional when it comes to the functioning of the pivot feature or the pivot joint, pivot aspect of the elbow joint. Imagine this is an elbow and this is the humerus bone which is running from the top, and all these 3 bones, they meet here right at the elbow joint. If this is the, this is the right hand, wherein the radius bone is coming on the lateral side of the hand or on the outer edge of the hand. The ulnar bone is coming on the inner side of the hand. Even though it looks quite simple in itself, but understanding the details of the different bones or the articular cartilage present on them is enough to understand how magnificently these different bones have come together, or how interesting the human body evolution is, because the structure of each of these bones is completely different, but at the same time they work together to provide the functionality that we have in the case of not just the elbow joint, but also in case of any other joint in the body, as we have discussed in other videos with you. The humerus bone has this huge area which is covered with articular cartilage. Now, the articular cartilage is a connective tissue which is almost 2 to 4 millimeters thick in depth, and its purpose is to provide a smooth, lubricated surface wherever 2 bones are supposed to make movements happen with each other. It's not just present in case of the elbow, it's present in case of each and every joint that you have inside the human body, each and every synovial joint that you have inside the human body. The fixed joints do not have the articular cartilage. The semi-movable or the cartilaginous joints, they do not have the articular cartilage. They have their own different kinds of cartilage in different locations. But wherever you have the synovial joints, the articular cartilage is going to be present. Now, the articular cartilage, like I said, is a connective tissue. It's smooth in structure because wherever 2 bones are supposed to meet, it is smooth so that it remains lubricated, slippery and rubbery, so that it does not create any friction or degeneration over time as we constantly move these various joints. The articular cartilage is very important, and if you ever pay attention to the positioning of the articular cartilage, you can understand the limitations to which extent various bones make contact with each other, whether they're moving or they're not moving, or at least you can understand the scope of the movement of these various bones by just keeping an eye of the various cartilage present on them. So, the capitellum, in case of the humerus bone, the largest bone, the distal end or the lower side, the deep side of the humerus bone has this outer covering which is covered by articular cartilage, and it is specially shaped to accommodate the proximal ends of the ulnar as well as the radius bone. It would have been easier, it would have been much more complicated for the elbow joint or for human beings to function with the elbow joint if there was no capitellum which is supposed to accommodate the unique proximal ends of the ulna as well as the radius bone. The capitellum, where it's supposed to make contact with the radius bone, is round in shape, it's smooth, and the structure of the capitellum is made in a way so that it accommodates the bending as well as the rotating aspect of the radius bone. The top part of the entire radius bone right here is also called as the radial head, which it gets from its name, the radius bone. Radial head is supposed to, of course, work as a hinge on the capitellum or the distal end of the elbow, but at the same time it is the duty of the radius bone to rotate or pronate or supinate the hand wherever necessary, and the capitellum area is perfectly designed to accommodate both of these features all together in a single area. Similarly, ulnar bone is only supposed to function as the hinge joint. It does not have any potential as a rotating or a pronating or supinating joint or a pivot joint. The ulnar bone is just supposed to function as a hinge joint, and probably that is the reason why the proximal ends of ulna and radius are completely different to each other. While the ulnar bone, the proximal end of the ulnar bone, is meant to fit perfectly in the area of the capitellum, the radius bone is not really meant to fit perfectly like a puzzle. It's meant to rotate as well as work like a hinge joint on the entire area where these three bones come together. The radial head of the entire radius bone is circular in shape, round shaped, and it works like a slippery knob which as well as slides on top and rotates around the capitellum because the area is provided for it to function like that. At the distal end of the radius and the ulnar bone, the radius bone overlaps the ulnar bone at the space where the wrist joint begins or the space where the wrist joint happens. But here, the ulnar bone, the radius bone, simply rotates wherever it is, but it's able to move up and down at the same time. Just try to straighten your arm and you'll see that you can do both these pivot and hinge functions of the radius bone at the same time without having to wait for one joint to happen. They both can be done together, and this capitellum is the perfect place for that to happen, perfect for the unique function of the radius bone. There are a few ligaments which make and stabilize the entire elbow joint. Basically, there are three ligaments which are there to support and stabilize the entire elbow joint. The one on the medial end of, just like how the knee joint has MCL and LCL, or medial collateral ligament and lateral collateral ligament on either side, the purpose of which is to stabilize the various bones of the joint so that it does not move in lateral or medial directions. The elbow joint has the same ligaments, medial collateral ligament on the medial end or towards the midline of the body, and lateral collateral ligament right here connecting the humerus bone with the radius bone, while the medial collateral ligament connects the humerus bone with the ulnar bone. These are present on the medial and the lateral sides, and they very nicely keep these three bones together. They're very tight space. It does not leave any scope for any misinformation to be delivered between these three bones. But if there is a damage in any of these two ligaments, then the elbow joint is more prone to dislocations, the elbow joint is more prone to damage, and it will not remain as functional as it is right now in case of a healthy joint. There is one more ligament which is present in case of the elbow joint, and that is the annular ligament. As you can see right here, the annular ligament gets its name. Annular simply means round shaped, circular. For example, if you talk about another location where the annular name is used, is the intervertebral disc between these spines, between the spinal vertebrae. These intervertebral discs have these intervertebrae have a round-shaped cartilaginous structure which is covering the nucleus pulposus all around it. The annulus fibrosus is on the outside of the nucleus pulposus. Together, these two form the intervertebral disc. Similarly, the annular ligament is basically a round-shaped ligament which is covering the entire round head of the radius bone, and it is attaching the radius bone to the ulnar bone at the proximal ends or at the top ends of these two bones. Of course, the purpose of the annular ligament is to allow the radius bone to rotate and function like the pivot joint. If this annular ligament was not present, then I do not think that it would have been possible for the elbow joint to be able to work like a pivot at any point. This is everything you need to understand about the elbow joint. Please keep in mind that the elbow joint is very vital for human existence, and as we have discussed, something to do with yoga or something to do with Sukshma Vyayam. Why I keep discussing Sukshma Vyayam in case of these major joints is because Sukshma Vyayam is basically a series which can be performed by people of all ages, whether they are kids, whether they are adults, whether they are elderly people. Especially in case of elderly people, people who are not able to push themselves physically as much, but still need to function or still need to make minute, simple movements, Sukshma Vyayam is very, very effective because it lubricates all the joints wherever the movement or activity is happening. So, the very basic exercise that you can do in case of Sukshma Vyayam is simply put your hands in the front, straighten your spine, and just bend your elbows and collapse your elbows. Straighten your arms, bend your elbows, straighten your arms. These simple movements 5 to 10 to 15 times before starting any strenuous physical exercise will keep your elbow joint lubricated, will keep your elbow joints healthy, and of course avoid any areas where you're supposed to slam the elbow directly against any hard surfaces, because that can severely damage the collateral ligaments present on the medial and the lateral ends, or worse, it can even fracture your bones. So this is everything you need to know about the skeletal structure of the elbow joint. I hope you found today's video informative. I will see you again next time. Until then, thank you and namaste.